Hello and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of OCD. Hope you're ready. And you can see I've got my therapy friends with me, and I've got my book. And as you can tell, I'm here because I am actually looking at the camera this time. So without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Okay. As you can tell, here is the book. Let's get back into it, shall we? Now, if you've been watching, then you'll probably know that we're near the end. We've got, actually there's a whole other chapter. We've got 37 pages roughly. And we will get through tonight is a whole different thing, but without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? When OCD is not the only problem, where to go with other difficulties? It may be the case that you are having to cope with other difficulties at the same time as OCD. No judgments, but I feel called out here. Alternatively, you may find as you start to tackle your OCD, and that takes up less of your time and attention, other problems come to the fore and reveal themselves. Sometimes happens that in confronting OCD, it becomes apparent that the OCD has had the function of providing some way of coping with other difficulties. For example, some of you thinking about dealing with a traumatic experience. I'm not saying anything. Not a flipping thing. When two or more problems occur together, this is known as comorbidity. I think that's how you pronounce it. The word will be on the screen now. The sections below give an overview of some common difficulties that can be comorbid with OCD and how you might think about tackling them with further professional help or self-help. Please also see the resources section on page 269. I may go through the sources page, but it's mostly UK based from what I can remember, so I may just make like little notes in the descriptions for the last video maybe. We'll see. We shall see. Hoarding. Ooh, this is a common one now. Lots of people hoard. I mean, admittedly, I've had times where I've hoarded things and kept things I don't actually want or need, but you just keep them, just in case. But at the same time, I've also had some good clear outs, so I don't think you can really... So I wouldn't say that hoarding is a problem for me personally, but it probably is for other people. So let's give it... That's better. Hoarding is the compulsive collecting of particular objects to a level that interferes with daily life. People who hoard have immense difficulty throwing things away, often due to fears that they may accidentally throw away something of importance along with their rubbish, or that the object may be useful in some way at a point in the future. That's what everyone does though. I mean, most of us have things that we don't want or need, but we keep it because it might come in handy. Sometimes these things do. It's like, I had a universal remote recently. Well, I bought it many years ago, back when I had a TV that was really big and heavy. When I say big and heavy, I mean like, it was like, well, you can't see my hands. That's how big the TV was. It was really heavy. One of those really old-fashioned ones with a massive bit at the back. It's like a widescreen. Not as big as the one you can see there, but it was a fair size. And it was quite old and the remote stopped working. And so I had to buy a universal remote. And when I stopped using the TV, I kind of forgot all about it. Until recently when I needed a new remote. Because I had purchased remotes on Amazon for my TV. Not that I'm calling out Amazon, but, well, it won't be when you get to review bit. Because the remotes would always inevitably, after about 4 months, stop working. And then I remembered I had my universal remote. You know what? Don't have that problem now. And I got that from Maplin, I think. That's not an advertisement because the company's dead now. They don't exist. So I'm not getting any free stuff from them anytime soon, unfortunately. Wish I could, but I'm not. Now, where was I? Here we go. This can be a very serious problem, and the available living space can quickly become cluttered and unstable. Cluttered and unusable. In severe cases, compulsive hoarding can present risks to health due to being a fire hazard. Yeah, that sounds about right. There is some debate as to whether hoarding, let's start again. There is some debate as to whether hoarding is a form of OCD, which most professionals and researchers agree in that it is a problem that may share some features and vulnerability factors with OCD, but it also has its own particular characteristics. Hoarding can be associated with OCD in that some of the reasons underlying the person's attachment to objects are due to fears that something bad will happen if they throw them away. This is similar to magical thinking found in OCD, in which people will perform rituals in order to keep themselves or others safe. Hoarding can also co-occur with OCD as a completely separate problem. Currently, hoarding is treated within services specialising in OCD. If you'd like professional help with hoarding, you should approach your general practitioner for a referral to a service treating anxiety disorders. It will be important that as part of the assessment, the therapist visit your home or where the problem is located to get a sense of the extent and severity of the problem. Depression. Depression often results from having OCD. The level of restriction and interference that OCD causes means that the majority of people with OCD have secondary depression. It therefore follows that if the OCD improves, then so should the depression. However, for some people, depression is a problem in its own right, and even once they have got on top of their OCD, they still experience symptoms of depression. Or these symptoms can be so strong that it is very difficult to undertake treatments such as cognitive behavioural therapy, which involves actively thinking about and doing things. Symptoms of depression include depressed or low mood for most of the... let's start again. I stopped half sentence without a comma. Symptoms of depression include a depressed/low mood for most of the day and nearly every day, and loss of pleasure in things over at least a 2-week period. Other physical symptoms may include changes in appetite, weight loss or gain, interference in sleep patterns and concentration, and feeling restless and irritable or very lethargic. Psychological symptoms may include thoughts and feelings of worthlessness and thinking about death a lot. If you feel very depressed, it can affect your motivation to do anything at all, even go out of the house. It is often associated with thoughts about your self-worth and assumptions as to how others may think of you and treat you. However, by not going out, you can reinforce these ideas as you do not have any other information. A well-evidenced starting point to deal with depression is to plan some activities that, taken as a whole, provide you with some sense of pleasure and some sense of achievement, and to do them, even if you feel like it is the last thing you want to do. There are several excellent self-help books that outline the cognitive behavioural approach to depression, and which will guide you to use CBT to help you manage your mood and your feelings about yourself. However, if you feel suicidal, you should tell someone that you trust and seek professional help to give you the support you need to get out of depression. I don't have any books about it. Actually, I have a book about mindfulness. I also have one called I'm Okay, You're Okay. I may have to read that at a later date. What do you reckon? Would you be interested? Let me know in the comments if you would. But it won't be if you are there, it won't be the next book. The next book is called You Are Awesome. It's the book which started this whole vlog. It's a book, ironically, I never completed. I know, it's funny actually, it's a funny story. So I started reading it because I just felt horrible. And halfway through, whatever point it was in the book I got to, and I thought, I should do a vlog and talk about it. And I did. And I never went back to the book. I think I've probably mentioned it in one or two other videos, but the bookmark's still in there, I think. Anyway, let's get back to this, shall we? Generalized anxiety disorder. Generalized anxiety disorder, otherwise known as GAD, is the problem of having excessive and uncontrollable worry about a number of different topics for at least a 6-month period. People with GAD will often have had the problem for much longer than this and may consider they have always been a worrier. GAD can be a very serious problem that can affect a person's sleep, appetite and ability to relax, to their life and ability to function in general. GAD differs from OCD in that the topics that the person worries about don't clash with their values, and they do not worry about what it means for them as a person to think about or not think about, or act on these things. They are simply worried about bad things happening, and the worry often jumps around from topic to topic. Topic to topic. People with GAD are consumed with the content of their worries. The worrying is experienced as uncontrollable and is very unpleasant. Sometimes it is compounded by further fears that the worry is damaging their health and sanity, thereby causing further worry. This problem is thought to affect over 4% of the population and is treatable using cognitive behaviour therapy. Social phobia or social anxiety disorder. Social phobia is a severe fear of the reactions and judgments of others in a social or social performance situation. It is quite a common problem affecting 7 to 13% of adults. People who suffer from social phobia experience a distressing amount of anxiety whenever they are in a feared social or performance situation. They are concerned that they will do or say something that will be humiliating or embarrassing. For example, they often fear that other people will see them blush, sweat, tremble, or otherwise look anxious. Their fears may be general or specific to a few situations, and due to their fears, people with social phobia may avoid these situations or endure them with significant distress. The problem is at a clinical level if it causes significant interference in the person's life. Social phobia is treatable using cognitive behaviour therapy, even if you have had the problem for a very long time. That's nice, isn't it? We're going through quite a few of these tonight. But not. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Opens up further discussions about problems, doesn't it? I think it does anyway. Autistic spectrum disorder. Heading into snork territory here, people. And that's a reference I doubt anyone watching this video will probably get. But if you do, let me know in the comments. Autistic spectrum disorder includes autism and a milder form called Asperger's syndrome. The main feature of ASD, because I'm not saying autistic spectrum disorder every flipping time, is difficulties in social communication. That is the ability to understand the minds, intentions and feelings of others. People with autism experience problems with social interaction, communicative language and symbolic or imaginative play from an early age. Problem is one that is present from early childhood and persists through life, but the degree to which people have these problems can vary greatly. As adults, they may avoid eye contact, use very few words, experience changes in routine as very anxiety-provoking and find metaphors very difficult. Most people with OCD do not have an ASD. However, research on people who do have these disorders shows us that OCD or behaviour that looks like OCD is relatively common in the group. So what they're saying is, if you have OCD, you're not very likely to have ASD. But if you do have ASD, you most likely have OCD. Think about it for a moment, people. I'll give you a few seconds. Now, where was I? I can't remember now. Bugger it. There we go. Actually, I found it. Only a trained specialist can make a clear diagnosis of an ASD in an adult or child, and there are several national centres where such expertise is available. If you think you may have an ASD, it might be worth exploring an assessment, as this can help you assess specialist help for any difficulties you may be experiencing, including OCD. PTSD and experiences of abuse or neglect. Post-traumatic stress disorder, otherwise known as PTSD, is a persistent reaction to traumatic experiences in which the person felt afraid for their life, or their physical integrity was violated. Such experiences can vary from road traffic accidents to sexual abuse in childhood or adulthood and may have happened quite recently or a very long time ago. As a result of the trauma, the person experiences ongoing fear and may experience flashbacks, dreams or reliving of the event or events, and may find themselves afraid in situations that trigger memories of the event. These memories can be distressingly incomplete. PTSD may make the person feel very numb and detached from others and causes significant interference and stress. Occasionally, OCD can develop in the context of a trauma as a separate problem, as it can seem like a way that is helping the person to be safe in what feels like a very unsafe world. If you think you have PTSD, it is important to get specialist help for this problem, which can be very effectively treated using cognitive behaviour therapy. Treatment centres for traumatic stress, or PTSD, will be able to offer this. In the UK, referral to these services is made via general practitioners. Sadly, it is also reasonably common to have experienced other types of abuse and stress, such as bullying or parental hostility and neglect, that can lead to significant problems in self-esteem and self-worth. The meanings that people internalise about themselves from these experiences can be linked with developing difficulties such as depression, low self-esteem, and social anxiety. These experiences are also common in people who develop OCD. If you are in treatment for one of these problems, then it is often helpful to discuss these sorts of earlier experiences with your therapist, as they may be able to help you gain new insight and understanding to enable you to move on from the current problem. And from these past experiences, the self-help books shown on page 270 are also recommended. I probably will go through that list. Might even look for one on eBay. Maybe we could read it. We'll see. Book reading for a vlog takes a long time. It really does. But one video at a time, shall we, people? One video at a time. Health anxiety. Health anxiety is a close cousin of OCD. People's concerns are about disease and falling ill at some point in the future, and they frequently seek reassurance. This often results in concerns about contamination, which can lead to excessive hand washing and avoidance. You may remember we had an example about this. I can't remember the person's name, but we had someone who dealt with this. Health anxiety is somewhat different from OCD, as a significant component of the problem is monitoring one's body for symptoms and trying to self-diagnose or seek diagnosis from health professionals. This problem can be treated with cognitive behaviour therapy. Body dysmorphic disorder, otherwise known as BDD. BDD is characterised by excessive concern about and preoccupation with a perceived defect in one's physical features. This can lead to extreme distress that interferes significantly with the ability to work, have relationships, or even leave the house. Some people with BDD check their features repeatedly in a way that can resemble OCD, but their underlying fear is not about responsibility for harm. This one can be treated with cognitive behaviour therapy. In case you're wondering about cognitive behaviour therapy, there is a playlist of a CBT book I went through. It might be worth going through it at this point, or even purchasing the book yourself. If you go to any of the videos in the series, you'll find a link to the book. I do not, however, make any money from any sales made through that link. Just so you know. Okay? And on with it. Eating disorders. Eating disorders may occur with OCD, and some of the features, such as avoidance or strict rules about eating, can overlap. However, beliefs about the importance of weight and shape are key aspects of eating problems that do not feature in OCD. The most common eating disorders are anorexia, the fear of being fat leading to being underweight and restricting food; bulimia, characterized by episodes of binging on large quantities of food and compensating by being sick, taking laxatives, or excessive exercise; and binge eating disorders, which is when the person does not compensate for the binges. Eating disorders can be treated very effectively using cognitive behaviour therapy, which will help you look in detail at the beliefs and behaviours that are keeping the problem going. Vomit phobia. This is the last one. This is a severe and extreme fear of being sick. Vomit phobia predominantly occurs in females. Okay. Sorry, I I think it's weird when people just say females. The only person I can get away with saying that was Martin Goodman from Friday Night Dinner. But you laughed at him when he said it though, so that's okay. And it's often... Sorry, let's start this again, shall we? Before I get lost. Vomit phobia predominantly occurs in females. No, let's go again. Vomit phobia predominantly occurs in women, and is often a very long-standing problem. As a result of this fear, sufferers can alter almost every aspect of their behaviour. A common pattern is to avoid many foods and the feelings that some foods can give, in case these induce vomiting in the sufferer. To avoid particular places such as bars, pubs, playgrounds and hospitals, due to a fear that the sufferer may encounter vomit in those places. Or even to avoid certain people, in case these people may be sick themselves. As the range of possible situations where the person may encounter their fear is so broad, this phobia can be extremely incapacitating, often due to avoidance and concern with things being clean. This problem can look like a form of OCD or an eating disorder, but is driven by a particular fear of being sick or encountering vomit. This problem is a recognised phobia which can be treated using cognitive behaviour therapy. And that is the end of the chapter. Tomorrow, or the next video, will be on chapter 8, Families, Friends and OCD. And as you can see, we're getting closer to the end. That will be page 240. The resources bit starts on page 269, so that's 29 pages to go. Which means this series is almost coming to an end. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's great that it is. Now, before we do that though, I did mention that there is a playlist already of a CBT book I read, just in case you are new to this. But rather than... I will link you to the playlist, but while I'm here, I will show you the book itself. And you'll see it is... we saw it up here. Here we go. It's this one up here. It's this one here. The Little CBT Workbook by Dr. Michael Sinclair and Dr. Belinda Hollingsworth. I'll show you the side. Look, the Little CBT Workbook. And there at the back, and there's the back of it. With a little barcode and a little website for a book, which I haven't actually checked out Crimson Books. It might still be on there. But it's worth looking out for this book. I thought it was very good. And it triggered this whole series of me reading random books. So that's a good thing. But anyway, I'm going to put this back for now, because it is now time for the video to end. So until next time, I'm James. You've been you, hopefully. Hope you're all taking care of yourselves. I'm sure you are, but if you're not, take a moment to take care of yourself. Just think about yourself and do something you like. So, with that thought in mind, take care of yourselves everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.